Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the RadioWis Show. RadioWis Show podcast. I'm still not sure what to properly call it. But welcome back. It's been about 3 months since the previous episode. If I'm not wrong, this is episode 7, and the previous one, episode 6, came out in June. So not really 3 months, but actually 4 months. Goddamn. Welcome back. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. If you're new to the RadioWis Podcast, this is basically just me talking to myself about things I would like to, I guess, document over the past month. It's supposed to be a monthly thing, but, I've been really consistent. I'm sorry, I've not been so consistent. I'm sorry. In fact, as a matter of fact, I actually wanted to use this opportunity, to explain why the RadioWis show hasn't been as consistent as I would like it to be. It's supposed to be a monthly thing, but why the long gaps in between each episode? Let's see, what excuses do I have up my sleeve? The first thing that I wanted to say was because I'm actually afraid of these episodes being not spammed, but like being consistent. I guess that's the fear. It sounds ironic, but the problem is it takes so long to make an animation that, sometimes it takes a month, maybe 2 months. If I'm too ambitious with the animation project, maybe it might take 3 months or more. And I think what scares me is that the RadioWis Podcast becomes the more consistent, not the more consistent, but the more regular content on the channel, which, I guess I feel like it might make things a little messy. It's like one 30-second animation, and then it's 4 episodes of the RadioWis podcast. Let's call it a podcast. I think it's easier to understand it. But yeah, I guess that's the fear. It's like a 30-second animation, and then 4 months later, you get like 4 episodes of like an hour-long podcast, and then and then another 30 seconds or a minute animation comes out, and I guess that kind of feels like it's diluting the main type of content on the channel, which is the animations, if not the occasional real life videos of me speaking or making an announcement of some kind. And I guess sometimes when I'm thinking about making the next RadioWis podcast, I guess that's the fear that's at the top of the list. If I make an episode today, it's been like 2 months since the previous animation, and then if I made one more RadioWis episode next month, that's like 3 episodes, and then how's that going to affect the perception of the content on this channel? Because I don't want the. It's not that I hate doing these podcasts. I actually enjoy doing it very much. It's just I don't want the animations to feel diluted, if you know what I mean. It's like shifting not perspective, but the vibe of the channel. Like I want this channel to be an animation or like artisty kind of channel. But if it ends up being a majority podcast episode channel, I guess it's not really not the balance that I'm looking for. And so, because of that, these RadioWis episodes come out so inconsistently. I wish it was different. And I'm probably too not smart enough to find a proper way to balance the amount of content on this channel to make it feel like to make it feel messy. I hope I'm making sense. One of the things that I've actually thought about doing recently in the past few months, ever since the last episode, was, I was considering maybe making more story time videos, kind of like the YouTube partner program video. It's 16 minutes, but not the entire 16 minutes, but just like illustrated story time, something that's a little more manageable, because those are a lot easier to produce. I'm basically just drawing still images, call them storyboards, if you will, and those are a lot more manageable. They're a lot faster and a lot more manageable to produce, especially if, I imagine the videos that I would probably make would be around 5 to 6 minutes, nothing more than that, because I don't want these videos to be too long-winded. And at the same time, they're not too long. The longer the video, the more drawings that needs to be produced. By the way, I'm not saying that I am going to do it. I'm just saying that this was the thought process that I had when I was considering how to fill in the gaps in between animations, MMO chapter releases, and the RadioWis Podcast. In fact, the RadioWis Podcast was supposed to fill in the gaps between the MMO releases and the the animation releases as well. But apparently a new issue popped up, that being, it's being too consistent, and it might change the perspective of what the channel vibe might be. I hope I'm making sense when I say that. I'm just spurting out words in the hopes that it makes sense. Yeah, so the fear of spamming the RadioWis Podcast. If I could have an ideal schedule, if I could have, if things ran perfectly, and content were to be released the way I would like it to, every month I would want to create one short animation, one podcast episode, one RadioWis episode. I definitely cannot get MMO chapter releases out that quickly anymore. But so it's an animation video, a podcast episode, and I'm thinking, maybe that's a little bit too scarce in terms of content. Scarce? How do you pronounce it? I'm pretty sure scarce is how you pronounce it in American, I guess. Maybe British is like scars or something. But basically, lacking in content, in order to prevent that. Just considering making, story time illustration videos. But the one thing stopping me from doing those storytime videos is, would it be too alienating for the RadioWis fans? Is one of the things that stopped me from pursuing this particular direction in order to fill in the gaps between animations. It's so many things happening at once. I'm sorry, I don't mean to confuse you, but it's just so many thought processes happening at once. Whenever I consider pursuing a direction for RadioWis, the main idea is that the MMO series, we live in an MMO webcomic chapters, and the animations for RadioWis, these are the main content. And in between the release of the main content, I would like in-between content. And the podcast was supposed to be one of those things. But the issue then became, if the podcast became the more regular type of content? Would that dilute the channel? And then when I was thinking about, okay, maybe I should create more, maybe I can try creating, more story time content, would that dilute the vibe of the channel even further? And so, there's all these things that I'm thinking about whenever these thoughts pop up, because one of the reasons why I actually wanted to dabble in storytime content, or at least just narrated content, is because it's easier to actually put like sponsorships and ad reads in it. It's not really easy for sponsorships, I guess, to in a 30-second animation. It's not really the easiest thing to do, and it's not really the most appealing type of content for companies to want to sponsor. Now, that's not saying that GamerSupps, for example, I'm not trying to place them as an ad in this podcast, but what I'm saying is, like, for GamerSupps, they're more easy about these kind of things. Like, I'm just a partner with them, and they through our conversations, they're like, as long as you can promote our products every once in a while, it's more than enough. We'd be more than happy that we're mentioned in your videos and animations, and that's why I put them at the end of the animations as a little like thank you. And I put them in the descriptions as well. But if you're talking about companies that would like 30-second ad reads or 60-second ad reads, the chances are they are not really inclined to collaborate if your content is too short. Now, that's not to say that, I want to make content for the money, I mean, I need money. It's not why I'm doing it, but I'm just saying that, thinking of just how I can feed myself and my family. One of the more viable ways to do it on a YouTube channel is through sponsorships. I mean, recently I've been thinking more on the business side of my YouTube channel, and one of the things that I realized is that my content is not that monetizable. Even ever since joining the YouTube Partner Program, I'm not making the big bucks. I make like $200 a video. $200 a video. I'm not sure if I can say that. I'm going to put it on, and if I get into trouble, whatever, man. But the ever since the rates have been revealed to me, I mean, it's nice extra cash. Let me be honest. It's nice extra cash, but it's not nearly enough to support a family. Not at the length of the videos that I make. So I think I'm not even sure exactly how the revenue works, but I believe three things play an important role in the potential earnings of a YouTube video. So the first one is the views. The second one would be the length of the video, because YouTube just they want to keep you on the site. That's how the platform works. And so they reward longer videos they reward longer videos as compared to shorter. How do you pronounce that? Shorter videos. Not very long videos. Let's just put it that way. So, like, the animations that I make, which are like 30 seconds to a minute long, these are the worst kinds of videos you can actually make on YouTube to earn from the partner program, which is also one of the reasons why I was kind of against it. It's kind of like it puts you in a mental position which screams at you, hey, your videos are not gonna. If you want to make money from your videos, it's never gonna be enough for you to animate 30 seconds to a minute. Ideally, I think they want like 8 minutes, 10 minutes per video or something like that, and as an animator, that's just almost impossible to do on a weekly basis, let alone a monthly basis. Making an 8-minute animation is not easy, or let alone a 5-minute animation. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you're an animator and you're on YouTube, animations are not going to be the ones that help you earn on this platform. And I'm pretty sure that's true for just in general. I've heard like just even creating IRL content, just normal content, if it does not get the engagement that YouTube wants, you're just not gonna make money from it. So if you make content that's not engaging, you're not gonna make much. If you make a video that's too short, it's not gonna make much despite the engagement. And if you make an animation that does not have any engagement, well, good luck, buddy. You're probably going to leave in the sewers. God damn, you probably can't even afford a receipt to wipe your ass after you take a shit. God damn it, son. Like, it's bad. It's bad, which is why I don't really want to depend. In fact, I don't actually depend on YouTube at all for income. Like I said earlier, it's just it's a nice side income, but it's not something that I depend on at all. If I lose the what do you call it, the partner program tomorrow, I'm fine with it. If they delete my channel because of, I don't know, my censorship or something, I don't know, that's fine too. Maybe I'll create a new channel. If they IP ban me, maybe I'll just find another platform. I'm not dependent on YouTube. But I am going to take advantage of what YouTuber sponsors want while I can, to maximize the amount of income I can produce through my work. Unfortunately, animations are not the way to go, unless, of course, you're making dedicated animations, that being like the Hollow Stars animation I made for Hollow Stars, for Cover Corp, last year. If you make like dedicated animations, obviously you're being paid to make the project, but if you're talking about your own personal projects, your own personal animations, you'd be lucky if you make like $500 or something. Oh man. Like don't think that I'm well-to-do. Sometimes when I read the comments from, I think it was one of the previous RadioWis episodes, people are like, "Oh, yes, I'm so." It's so inspiring to know that you're doing what you want and you're able to live off of it. You're making the big bucks. You made it, Rando. You made it. Like really heartfelt comments like that. And every time I read it, I go, no, you don't understand. I make less than $20,000 a year. I'm not balling in cash. Okay, I'm working really hard, doing what I want to do, finding every way I can possibly find without swindling the fans. Obviously that's very important. It's I'm trying to earn as much as I can in as a sincere manner as possible as I can. It's one of the reasons why you find YouTubers or your favorite content creators selling merch is because normally merch is the pursuit. The merch is what normally content creators make the most money from in terms of revenue splits, because unless they're working for a middleman, like an already established brand, chances are the revenue splits are way better than working with pre-established platforms like YouTube, for example. The revenue split, especially for me, since I'm from a country that does not have any tax treaties with YouTube, with the U.S., sorry. With the U.S., they... can I say this? Can I say it? I don't remember them not saying it, but once again, I'm just going to say it if I get into trouble, whatever, man. But there is... of the earnings that I make from YouTube, it is then subjected to taxes that are then deducted by the U.S. before it's sent to me. So I make... it's public information that YouTube takes 30% of the income as their split. But after that, the remaining 70% is then further taxed if you're from overseas, depending on the tax treaties that you have with the U.S. or lack thereof. And then what happens is that 70% is then further deducted by another flat percentage depending on where the country is. For example, in Singapore, we have no tax treaties, and what happens is a bigger chunk of money gets taken away before it goes into my bank account. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, what the fuck is that? This is unsustainable. This is unsustainable. For the amount of views that I get. With a million views, $200. You do the math. God damn it. Oh man. Anyway, it's just a rant at this point. It's just me complaining about how you can't see this as a viable source of income, especially if you do what I do, which is animation. Which is why, once again, going back to the earlier part of this podcast, I have been considering dabbling in the story time scene, or at least, it's one of the things that I feel like I could do that would still be related to art on this channel. And it's relatively easier to produce compared to animations. And it's easier for potential sponsorships, potentially. In fact, I could probably mention, I could probably find ways to mention like GamerSupps in those storytime videos in a manner that's not like hard selling, in my current animations, because these animations are mostly silent, there's no audio, not audio, there's no voice acting beyond grunts and screams, there's no speech in these animations. That's an intentional choice. I make my animations with silent characters because I want the content of these animations to be universal. I don't want the jokes or the not story, but if I can convey a story without words, then everyone on the planet could possibly understand it. It reaches a more universal audience. That's my intention with these animations. Unless it's an announcement, obviously the videos that have voiceovers are usually announcements. Like the Lou Plush announcement. The what video was it? The YouTube partnership program, that one had voiceovers. And so I wanted my animations to be universally watchable, which then brings me back to my previous point. Would making these storytime, would pursuing a storytime direction be too different a vibe on this channel? This is one of the things that I'm mentally contending with. It's hard to. It's so hard to do things when you're me. It's so annoying. I'm my own worst enemy. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you ever start seeing storytime videos, just know that it's me trying to attempt a new direction to potentially entice sponsors. Come on, give me a 60-second ad read. I promise I won't bite. Come on. But ultimately, I'm just trying to find as many ways as possible to make a living from what I'm doing better than how I already am. I don't want to, in as a sincere manner as I could. Yeah. Ugh. So annoying. God damn. Sometimes these animations take so long to produce. Like, one of the reasons why there was... Let me say that again. I actually was working on another animation before the push trigonometry one. The Pusida trigonometria. Am I saying that right? Please correct me if I'm wrong, Brazilian fans out there. If you speak Portuguese, entrega tu madre, cachorro arrombado, ilegales en mi patio. Spanish. It's not the same. What was I saying? Oh, shit, I lost my train of thought here. What am I saying? Before the push trigonometry animation that recently came out, I was actually working on another animation that was supposed to be a sort of silent vlog for about my trip to Japan last year. But unfortunately, I've had to put it aside for now. If you were a supporter on RadioWis.com or a fan on Fanbox, I've already explained this. And so I'm sorry if you're listening to this a second time. But basically, I had to put the animation aside because it was just going to take way too much work for what I had in mind for the video. It was going to feature Lou, Puss, and occasionally Rando in this silent vlog. And, you could probably guess how these characters are going to be in these real-life footages. What's the plural for footage? Footages? Is that like a foot fetish? Footages. Ooh, footages. Ooh, get the fuck out of here, alarm. I'm talking here. God damn it. In the footage, in the real life footage, you could probably guess how these characters would be in the footage. They were most probably going to be drawn in. And unfortunately, there was just so many clips that required these characters to be drawn in that it was just going to take way too much time. I could foresee myself taking at least half a year for this one vlog video / animation that I had in mind. And so, I thought to myself, that's going to put RadioWis in another dry spell for the next half a year. And I don't want that to happen. And so I put it aside for now, and I'm currently thinking of different ideas on how to approach this animation / video. I hope to create a more efficient method of production. And just a little spoiler. I hope you don't mind me telling you this, but yeah, I do have plans on how to pursue producing a video like that. I can't animate that in 2D. It's gonna take way too long. It took me 7 months to create a 4-minute animation. This one's longer. Oh, this one's longer. God damn it! I don't want to spend too much time. And it's probably inefficient too. Like, remember that the amount of time spent making an animation, I'm not really earning that much in that period. In a sense, it's essentially, I'm only earning from the supporters and the fans who I am eternally grateful for. And, that's the only source of income whenever animations are being made. And it's currently not enough, barely sustainable for my family and I. God damn it. And usually, when you do produce these animations, it's entirely up to the viewers and the algorithm of whether or not this video becomes viral or popular enough. It's something beyond us content creators' control. There are people who try to game the system, but for me personally, I just make what I want and I upload it, and it's up to the internet to decide whether or not it gets popular or not. And the not financial, but I guess you could say financial, but the revenue rewards, the financial return of producing an animation that took you 7 months to produce, if it's not substantial, it's bad. It's bad financial planning. That's not to say that I'm making the animations for money, but if you spend a year making a project, and upon the release of the project, there's not a, what do you call it, an appropriate financial return for it. Yeah, sure, there's the satisfaction of making what you want, the way you want it to be. But if you have a family to feed, that's not really the best decision to make. And so that's the kind of thinking that's been running through my mind recently. Not really recently, but it's always been at the back of my mind. I just probably was just never too honest with myself to admit it, I guess. As an artist, you cannot. It's good to have passion and all, but you also have to be smart enough to not put yourself in a financial detriment as an artist. You have to find that balance of being able to reap the benefits of your labor, as I said in the YouTube Partner Program video. If you are an artist that's listening and you wish to make a living from your art, that in and of itself is a skill. It's not something that it's just because you make good art doesn't mean you're going to make a lot of money, and just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you make good art. It's a balance. You gotta experiment. You gotta not cuck yourself, but at the same time, you also don't want to be somebody that garners a bad reputation from it. You don't want to make the wrong financial decisions in terms of earnings that gives you a bad name because you don't want people to call you like a fraud, or you don't actually want to be a fraud. You don't want to be a con job either, So it's finding that balance, of earning sincerely while not cucking yourself, selling yourself too cheap as an artist. It's not easy, and it's something I still struggle with, I guess. This has been a half an hour session of me just bitching about how I'm not making enough of money. God fucking damn it. GamerSupps, man. Code rando for 10% off. Don't forget. But I mean, it's not just that, the whole idea is that I'm not that young anymore. I don't really have that much time. Not that much time, but I don't really have the time I once had to experiment with RadioWis. I guess I've been doing RadioWis for like 12 years. If we're counting since the conception of RadioWis, is it inception? Like ever since the idea of RadioWis was a thing. That was late 2012. But, I started on Patreon in 2016. before I stopped in 2020. So professionally, RadioWis has been around for, what was that, 8 years? But RadioWis as an entity, as a brand, has been around for 12 years. 2012. And I feel like I'm one of the many, if not one of the few, that has not been able to properly maximize the opportunity that I have as a content creator on the internet. But at the same time, I feel like that might be a good thing, because had I been younger, I probably would have made financial decisions that I would have definitely come to regret now as the person that I am now. Yeah. I mean, I was once approached by Webtoons. I was approached by Webtoons. I think it was in 2017, maybe 2018. I can't remember the exact year, but I remember being approached a good, healthy amount of time before COVID in 2020 by Webtoons, and they were willing to. We were in negotiations to buy the rights to my webcomic series. So We Live in an MMO. They wanted me to work under them, under the Webtoons brand, and but I ultimately turned the offer down. As grateful as I am to have been offered, I turned it down because I just was not comfortable with the terms that were provided and the rights that they would have for the period of time that they wanted to have it. I don't regret saying no, but I'm just saying that, for better or for worse, I am glad I had not made any financial decisions that I would regret making. And so while RadioWis is not the most, I'm very certain, it's just something I personally feel, I'm very certain that this is not the peak that RadioWis could be, but, the potential peaks that RadioWis could have been in the past, I'm glad I did not take those opportunities, because probably the prices you'll have to pay for those the peaks offered then, maybe I'd come to regret them now. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit, maybe sorry, it's another notification. Who knows? Maybe RadioWis would have been changed so much it would have been unrecognizable. God damn. With the way the world's being censored and all sorts of agendas, political and whatnot, are being pushed in content creation. Who knows what We Live in an MMO would have turned into. Oh, goddamn. Goddamn. But anyway, that's enough of me bitching about not making enough of money. It's a struggle. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's struggling. In fact, I understand that it's an incredible opportunity to have the position that I am in now, as a content creator with a healthy amount of fans, with a healthy amount of interest in what I do, and being able to enjoy what I do just as much. I think it's a rare opportunity. I just don't want to put it to waste. That's all I'm saying. It's yeah. Thank you, you RadioWis fan, for supporting RadioWis. You helped keep my family and I alive, and for that I am grateful. and I appreciate your support. GamerSupps, 10% off. Code rando. I'm kidding. Oh man. Okay. But one of the things that I wanted to actually get the fuck out of here, Windows notification. One of the things I wanted to not make clear, but one of the things I wanted to mention in this RadioWis episode was, I might consider pursuing a what was the word for it again? I keep forgetting. Story time. That's the word for it. Story time-esque videos in the future, in an attempt to not flood the channel with nothing but podcasts and an occasional animation. And at the same time, create an opportunity for sponsors to consider sponsoring this channel. That doesn't mean I'm going to accept every sponsor. If I don't like your product, if I don't personally use your products, I will not work with you. Just saying. All right, just saying. If I ever take a sponsor and it was just because of good money, I'll let you know in that video in a very discreet way. In a very discreet way. But yeah, and at the same time, it's. I think it's a good opportunity for fans to, I guess, be more familiar with the individual behind the animations, I guess. It's kind of like the animations and rando are the entertainment, I guess. I'm not sure what. I have a point in my head that I'm trying to make, but I don't have the vocabulary currently to properly express it. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's easier for, I guess the main point is that it would be easier to it would be easier to place potential sponsorships. That's not saying that I do have a lot of sponsors. I'm just saying that potentially it does. All right. I've dragged on to this one topic for long enough. It's like 40 minutes. There is something else I wanted to talk about, but, maybe should we save it for the next one? It was supposed to be a summary of what's been happening. And have I made that clear? Why? Okay, well, I've mentioned why. The RadioWis episodes aren't coming out too often. I've mentioned the fears of producing it too constantly. The time-lapse episodes. I've also talked about why the animation hasn't come out. Yeah, I talked about that one too. I guess that's all the updates for the past few months. What's been happening the past few months. Sorry, but goddamn. I guess that's it. What do we talk about now? Goddamn. Maybe now's a good time to end the episode. Oh no, it's just me rambling and bitching again. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for every RadioWis episode to be some sort of, what do you call it? Rambling session from me. You guys deserve more than that. I guess I could talk about that friend that I mentioned in the previous episode regarding wanting to get a vasectomy, and then I told him, "Why? Don't do it." It's like my testicle, my choice. That guy. We met again recently. I think it was maybe 2 months ago, maybe last month. I think it was last month, and he decided not to him and his wife decided not to. I like the reason why I just want to talk about this real quick is just, I don't know. For me, it's just what a waste. What a waste. Obviously, it's not my balls. It's not my family. It's not my decision. But for me personally, like I said in the previous RadioWis episode, I once I'm able to financially support myself, my family, and myself more healthily than I currently am, I personally would like to have kids of my own. And for me, it's just such a waste that you would stop yourself from having more kids intentionally by tying up your balls like a fucking BDSM victim. Personally, it's my personal belief that nothing gives a man more meaning in life than being able to provide and protect the people that he loves. Not least being his children or his wife, if not his own immediate family. And to throw that opportunity away to give you more meaning, to produce more children, I think that's such a waste, in my personal opinion. And there's a car fucking speeding outside. I hope you can't hear the engine revving outside. God damn it. Maybe we could talk about that more in the next episode. I don't want to drag this episode any longer, any more meaninglessly than it needs to be. I hope. Should we talk about it next week? I know I kind of said that. Not next week, sorry, in the next episode. I know I kind of said this in the previous episode. I will talk about it in the next episode. But now I am actually saying, yeah, let's talk it in the next episode. All right, everybody, I'll see you all in 2026. Goddamn. I hope not. I hope to be more consistent. Maybe I'll take the chance with the next episode, in next month, and have 2 RadioWis podcasts back to back in the uploaded videos section on my channel. But yeah, maybe we could start off with that topic next episode. Just family. Children, meaning. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us don't have meaning in the world nowadays. That's the crisis, isn't it? Goddamn. Well, we'll talk about it more in the next episode. Thank you all for joining me in today's RadioWis episode. I hope it was a good one. I hope you guys didn't mind me just complaining and I guess bitching about how I'm not making enough of money in my career. Obviously, it's a problem only I am facing on this planet. I'm just kidding. All right, see you in the next episode, everybody. Take care.